Hi guys, this is Shannon from No Shelf Control. Thanks for joining me on the channel tonight. I have the list of, well, half of the list of books that are coming out on May the 16th that I'm excited about. So I know we do this every week, and generally the first week of the month has the largest list of books. But I still ended up with 18 books this week. So I'm going to do half of them today and half tomorrow. And I hope you'll be excited about everything I found. So let's go ahead and get started. The first one is called As Long as We're Together by Brianna Pepins. And it is from Scholastic Press. So it is a young adult book. It's 256 pages. And of course, it's published on May 16th. I really like this cover. It's hand-drawn, and she's got all of her friends around her, older people, younger people, and she just looks very confident and a little bit smug. So I'm curious about the character just by virtue of the picture. Let's talk a little bit about the synopsis. It says, a heartstring-tugging, uplifting modern spin on Party of Five. A love letter to family, hope, and finding strength in unexpected places. Even though she has 6 siblings, 16-year-old Nova still knows what it's like to feel lonely. Her friends never remember to invite her anywhere because they assume Nova will be too busy overseeing dinner, baths, and homework, tasks that fall to her when her parents are at work. She wouldn't mind it so much if her perfect older sister Ariana wasn't always excused from helping out. She's the star of the volleyball team, and their parents don't want anything to jeopardize the scholarship she'll need to become the first member of their family to attend college. Needless to say, Nova feels like she's been given a raw deal, especially when she's forced to cancel a maybe date with her crush Haley. Then one terrible night, their parents don't make it back home. A car accident takes their lives and leaves 7 heartbroken kids on their own. The Wilkinson siblings have no grandparents, no aunts or uncles. Since Ariana has just turned 18, she manages to convince the judge to give her temporary custody. If she can keep her family running smoothly, they'll get to stay in their home. If not, they'll be placed in foster care. Nova will do whatever it takes to keep her family together, but finds herself in a constant power struggle when Ariana refuses to take her advice, even once it becomes clear that they are all in way over their heads. Will Nova find her voice and summon the strength to do the impossible? Or will she be forced to say the hardest goodbyes of all? So I loved Party of Five when it was a show, and so that got my attention. I also like the family dynamics, and I'm very interested to see, what's going to happen between Nova and Ariana. I also like that this is a queer relationship between Nova and Haley, her crush. I like seeing that portrayed because, with a 15-year-old son, what I'm realizing is that is very, very common in high school. And so, while it's certainly common in all levels of society right now, the younger generation is just much more open and much more accepting of same-sex relationships. And I think it's fair to portray, what's in reality in your story. So, I'm looking forward to this one. I like a good young adult book, and I loved Party of Five, so I think this is going to be a win for me. The next one on my list is called The Three of Us, and this one is by Ore Agbaje Williams, and I may be brutalizing that name. I have no idea, but I'm giving it my best. It's O-R-E, Ore, Agbaje, A-G-B-A-J-E, Williams, and Williams is the only part I feel confident about. The cover of the book says, what if your 2 favorite people hated each other with a passion? And there's a spilled glass of wine on the cover. So this one is published by G.P. Putnam's Sons, and it's only 192 pages. So let's read the synopsis. Long-standing tensions between a husband, his wife, and her best friend finally come to a breaking point in this sharp domestic comedy of manners told brilliantly over the course of one day. What if the 2 most important people in your life hated each other with a passion? The wife has it all. A big house in a nice neighborhood, a ride-or-die snarky friend with whom to laugh about facile men, and an affectionate husband who loves her above all else. The only thing missing from this portrait is a baby, But motherhood is a serious undertaking, especially for the wife who has valued her selfhood above all else. On a seemingly normal day, the best friend comes over to spend a lazy afternoon with the wife. But when the husband comes home and a series of confessions are made that threaten to throw everything off balance, the wife's two confidants are suddenly forced to jockey for their positions. Told in 3 taut, mesmerizing parts, the wife, the husband, the best friend. The day quickly unfolds to show how the trio's dented visions of each other finally unravel, throwing everyone's integrity into question, and their long drawn-out territorial dance, carefully constructed over pivotal years, into utter chaos. At once subversively comical, wildly astute, and painfully compulsive, The Three of Us explores cultural truths, what it means to defy them, and the fine line between compromise and betrayal, ultimately asking, who are we if not for the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves and the people we're meant to love? So the thing that intrigues me about this one is that it's told from the 3 different perspectives. I really love when a book does that. I love seeing the same action from the 3 different perspectives and going, that's how that person saw it, as opposed to how the other person saw it. That's real. That's, what life is like. We see things through our own lenses. And when an author is able to do that well, I think it's very, very compelling. So that one, again, is called The Three of Us. The next one on my list is by Emma Cline, who I really like, and her new book is called The Guest. She is the New York Times bestselling author of The Girls, which I read and enjoyed, and this one is published May 16th, of course, by Random House, and it's 304 pages. I'm not in love with the cover. It's sort of dull. It's just a hand. I'm not sure what that means or, what that has to do with the book. And then it just has words on it. It does have an Emma Cline feel to it. You can sort of feel that Emma Cline vibe. It goes along with some of her other covers, but I'm not knocked out by it. So that's okay. The Guest, a novel. A young woman pretends to be someone she isn't in this stunning novel by the New York Times bestselling author of The Girls. Summer is coming to a close on the east end of Long Island, and Alex is no longer welcome. A misstep at a dinner party, and the older man she's been staying with dismisses her with a ride to the train station and a ticket back to the city. With few resources and a waterlogged phone, but gifted with an ability to navigate the desires of others, Alex stays on Long Island and drifts like a ghost through the hedged lanes, gated driveways, and sun-blasted dunes of a rarefied world that is, at first, closed to her. Propelled by desperation and a mutable sense of morality, she spends the weekend leading up to Labor Day, moving from one place to the next, a cipher leaving destruction in her wake. Taut, propulsive, and impossible to look away from, Emma Cline's The Guest is a spellbinding literary achievement. And if you happen to read The Girls by Emma Cline, you'll know that she does sort of that woman you can't take your eyes off of character very well. And it sounds like perhaps Alex might be that kind of character as well. So we will see, but I'm intrigued by the idea that she's sort of a grifter in this very upend kind of community. So we will see how that one goes. Again, that is The Guest by Emma Cline. The next one is called Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, and it is published by the Burrow Press, 350 pages. I do really like this cover. So the whole cover is yellow. The book is called Yellowface, and you have the Asian type of eyes, and they're sort of looking off to the side. And so it's a bit mischievous, a bit mysterious, and I kind of like that. It also says on the cover, the #1 New York Times bestselling author. I am starting to feel like everyone is a New York Times bestselling author. I don't know how many books I talk about with you guys that say that on the cover. And I'm starting to wonder what you have to do to be a #1 New York Times bestselling author. Does your book just have to hit #1 for a minute? Or does it just have to make the list? Or what has to happen? I realize it's a huge achievement, but I do have questions. It seems like it's on every single book cover, and I don't know how that can be possible. So let me get off my soapbox about the New York Times bestselling author title. And we'll read the synopsis of Yellowface. What's the harm in a pseudonym? New York Times bestselling sensation Juniper Song is not who she says she is. She didn't write the book she claims she wrote, and she is most certainly not Asian American. In this chilling and hilariously cutting novel from R.F. Kuang, in the vein of White Ivy and the Other Black Girl. Authors June Hayward and Athena Liu were supposed to be twin rising stars. Same year at Yale, same debut year in publishing. But Athena's a cross-genre literary darling, and June didn't even get a paperback release. Nobody wants stories about basic white girls, June thinks. So when June witnesses Athena's death in a freak accident, she acts on impulse. She steals Athena's just-finished masterpiece, an experimental novel about the unsung contributions of Chinese laborers to the British and French war efforts during World War I. So what if June edits Athena's novel and sends it to her agent as her own work? So what if she lets her new publisher rebrand her as Juniper Song, complete with an ambiguously ethnic author photo? Doesn't this piece of history deserve to be told, whoever the teller? That's what June claims, and the New York Times bestseller list seems to agree. But June can't get away from Athena's shadow, and emerging evidence threatens to bring June's stolen success down around her. As June races to protect her secret, she discovers exactly how far she will go to keep what she thinks she deserves. With its totally immersive first-person voice, Yellowface takes on questions of diversity, racism, and cultural appropriation, not only in the publishing industry, but in the persistent erasure of Asian American voices and history by Western white society. R.F. Kuang's novel is timely, razor sharp, and eminently readable. So it's told in the first person. That's very interesting. I'm also really curious about this topic of cultural appropriation. I find it a very fine line to walk. American Dirt, that came out several years ago, the author, whose name I can't remember right now, Janine somebody, wrote about Mexico and about a Mexican family who was running from cartel drug lords that were trying to catch them and kill them to keep them quiet about murders they committed. And she just got raked over the coals because she's not Mexican. And I just wasn't sure why that was a rule. I didn't really get it then, and I don't really get it now. You know, men write female characters and women write male characters, and should I not be allowed to write a character that I don't share a heritage with? I'm just not sure. I don't totally get it. If one of you wants to clearly explain that to me, I am open ears, because I would really like to understand. For example, and for the life of me, I won't think of the name of the book, but there is a fantastic book that I really enjoyed that was written about a bunch of boys who were in an Indian boarding school. One of them was actually Indian and couldn't speak. The character's name was Mose. I know you guys are going to know what book this is, but the name won't come to me. And the author wrote incredibly compellingly about Indian culture and about this Indian young man. And nobody said a word. There was absolutely no criticism. And the author is not Indian and Native American in any way. And so it's not that I don't understand cultural appropriation. It's that I don't understand when we apply the rules. You know, I'd be interested if somebody has a perspective on that they can share with me. I would love to learn. But back around to the point, I love that this book explores that topic with the one woman stealing the manuscript of the other woman who passes away and passing it off as her own and trying to pass herself off as Asian American. So I will be interested to learn more about that topic and to, you know, consume that information as part of a fictional work is just, that's the best way for me. I just think that's so much fun. Okay, next book, number 5 on my list for today, is called The Garnett Girls by Georgina Moore. It is by Avon, and it's 336 pages. And I really like the cover here. It's very sort of lakeside beachy, and you've got the 2 grown women perhaps, and the 1 little girl, and then the boat in the water. It just looks like a good day to me. And The blurb on the book says, "A rare and wonderful delight," and that's a quote from Lucy Foley. Here's the synopsis. In this brilliant debut novel full of heart and warmth, three very different sisters and their free-spirited mother must grapple with life, responsibilities, and family secrets. Forbidden, passionate, and all-encompassing, Margot and Richard's love affair was the stuff of legend, but ultimately doomed. When Richard walked out, Margot locked herself away, leaving her three daughters, Rachel, Imogen, and Sasha, to run wild. Years later, charismatic Margot entertains lovers and friends in her cottage on the Isle of Wight, refusing to ever speak of Richard and her painful past. But her silence is keeping each of the Garnett girls from finding true happiness. Rachel is desperate to return to London, but is held hostage by responsibility for Sandcove, their beloved but crumbling family home. Dreamy Imogen feels the pressure to marry her kind, considerate fiancé, even when life is taking an unexpected turn. Wild, passionate Sasha, trapped between her fractured family and controlling husband, is weighed down by a secret that could shake the family to its core. The Garnett Girls, the captivating debut novel from Georgina Moore, asks whether children can ever be free of the mistakes of their parents. So you've got multi-generational, you have sisters, you have a debut novel. These are some of my favorite things. I don't expect this to be very heavy reading. It's published by Avon, which usually means it's a little bit more of a romance and a little lighter. But this sounds really good to me. Interested in the secrets that are spoken about. So really interested to see what happens with this one. It's The Garnett Girls, and it's by Georgina Moore, and it is her first book. The next one is very different. It's number 6 on my list, and it is called Dykette, and it is by Jenny Fran Davis. And the cover on this one is curious. So there's some sort of like mannequin hugging a cardinal, and the cardinal is either sleeping or dead, I'm not sure, and I have absolutely no explanation for this picture whatsoever. So we will see what this is about. Here's the synopsis. An addictive, absurd, and darkly hilarious debut novel about a young woman who embarks on a 10-day getaway with her partner and 2 other queer couples. Sasha and Jesse are professionally creative, erotically adventurous, and passionately dysfunctional 20-somethings, making a life together in Brooklyn. When a pair of older, richer lesbians, prominent news host Jules Todd and her psychotherapist partner Miranda, invite Sasha and Jesse to their country home for the holidays, they're quick to accept. Even if the trip includes a third couple, Jesse's best friend Lou and their cool girl flame Darcy, whose it-queer clout Sasha ridicules yet desperately wants. As the late December afternoons blur together in a haze of debaucherous home-cooked feasts and sweaty sauna confessions, so too do the guests' secret and shifting motivations. When Jesse and Darcy collaborate in an ill-fated live stream performance, a complex web of infatuation and jealousy emerges, sending Sasha down a spiral of destructive rage that threatens each couple's future. Unfolding over 10 heady days, Dykette is an unforgettable love story at the crossroads of queer nonconformity and seductive normativity. With propulsive plotting and sexy, wickedly entertaining prose, Jenny Fran Davis captures the vagaries of desire and the many devastating places in which we seek recognition. So, 3 couples, debauchery, it's bound to go awry, right? And the idea that Sasha goes into a spiral of destructive rage that threatens each couple's future doesn't surprise me at all, but I'm down for reading about it. I love a good sexy book. And I love a good queer story. I love, seeing tensions between people played out and seeing how they work out or don't. And so, addictive, absurd, and darkly hilarious. Not usually my, first go-to, but certainly something that I am interested in reading. So I will let you know what I think of this one. The next one on my list, number 7, is called Quietly Hostile by Samantha Irby, and it has a very angry skunk on the front. Samantha Irby is famous for her funny essays, and she is at it again. She is the #1 New York Times bestselling author of Wow, No Thank You. which I have read and enjoyed. This one is by Vintage, and it's 304 pages. It says, a much anticipated, hilarious new essay collection from #1 New York Times best-selling, unabashed fan favorite Samantha Irby invites us to share in the gory particulars of her real life, all that festers behind the glitter and glam. Beloved writer Samantha Irby has returned to the printed page for her much anticipated side-splitting 4th book following her 2020 breakout, Wow, No Thank You, a Vintage Books original. The success of Irby's career has taken her to new heights. She fields calls with job offers from Hollywood and walks the red carpet with the iconic ladies of Sex and the City. Finally, she has made it. But behind all that newfound glam, Irby is just trying to keep her life together as she always had. Her teeth are poisoning her from inside her mouth, and her diarrhea is back. She gets turned away from a restaurant for wearing ugly clothes. She goes to therapy and tries out Lexapro, gets healed with Reiki, explores the power of crystals, and becomes addicted to QVC. Making light of herself as she takes us on an outrageously funny tour of all the details that make up a true portrait of her life, Irby is once again the relatable, uproarious tonic we all need. So it is one of the things I love about Samantha Irby. She is totally frank and way out there. So everything is just open for consideration. And I like that idea. In her past books, we've read about her childhood. We've read about her teenage years. We've read about her growing up. And now she's made it, and we get to see what it's like behind the scenes there. So I appreciate somebody who is, open about themselves. And I love that these are funny. So, and essays can be a nice thing that you can sort of dip in and out of when you feel like it, as opposed to having to read it start to finish. So I'm going to give that one a try. Number 8 is called Glimmer, and it is by Kimberly Shannon Murphy. And it is a story of survival, hope, and healing. It's written by Kimberly Shannon Murphy with Genevieve Field. It's published by Harper Wave, and it's 256 pages. Here's the synopsis. The foreword is by Cameron Diaz, a raw and heartening memoir of one woman's journey from surviving childhood sexual abuse to becoming one of the most successful stunt women in Hollywood. Reading Kimberly Shannon Murphy's searing and vividly told memoir is like watching a gripping work of cinema verite. Each scene demands our attention as the plot moves towards its dramatic conclusion. A powerful and inspiring story of suffering and shame, resilience and redemption. And that's a quote from Gabor Mate, MD, New York Times bestselling author of The Myth of Normal. Piece by piece, the on-site medic tweezes the shards of candy glass from my face. I don't mind the stinging. I don't flinch. As an award-winning stunt woman, Kimberly Shannon Murphy was intimate with pain. For years, she propelled her body through dangerous spaces, medicating the trauma of her childhood sexual abuse with the adrenaline rush that came from pushing herself to the absolute limit. But as Kimberly learned, no matter how much you suppress your past, it always catches up with you. In Glimmer, Kimberly details her remarkable journey to the top of her field as a Hollywood stunt woman for many A-list celebrities, including Cameron Diaz, Charlize Theron, Angelina Jolie, Taylor Swift, and Sandra Bullock, while carrying the pain of her childhood of sexual abuse in a family that refused to acknowledge its reality. In her beautifully written, unflinchingly honest memoir, Kimberly reflects on her past and present, chronicling her path to recovery and calculating the long shadow of trauma. Glimmer is the story of one woman's quest to reclaim her life and to shine a spotlight on the dark topic of intergenerational familial abuse. As Kimberly reveals, being strong isn't about getting your black belt, leaping out of 4-story buildings, or putting 200-pound stuntmen in chokeholds. It's about waking up every single morning and choosing to love yourself, no matter your history. A heroic and hopeful story of stolen innocence, pain, courage, and survival. Glimmer is an emotional roadmap for others who have suffered abuse and childhood trauma, offering them hope, healing, and inspiration. So again, a very, very different book, but another person who promises to be fully open and transparent about what's happened in their life. So I am very intrigued about hearing this woman's story and hearing how she has worked through it and lived through it as a stunt woman. So that is Glimmer by Kimberly Shannon Murphy. The last one I'm going to talk about today is number 9 on my list. I have 9 more tomorrow, but this one is called The God of Good Looks by Brianne McIver. And I really like this picture on the front. So she's all decorated, her face is painted, and her lips are sort of cartoonish, and the cartoonish eyebrows and the purple hair. But I really like it, especially in that it's called The God of Good Looks. This is published by William Morrow, and it's 384 pages. This entertaining, transportive, and luminous debut novel follows a young Trinidadian woman finding her voice and a new kind of happy ending. Bianca Bridge has always dreamt of becoming a writer, but Trinidadian society can be unforgiving, and having an affair with a married government official is a surefire way to ruin your prospects. So when Obadiah Cortland, a notoriously tyrannical entrepreneur in the island's beauty scene, offers her a job, Bianca accepts, realizing that working on his magazine is the closest to her dreams she'll get. As Bianca begins to embrace her power and creative voice, she starts to suspect Obadiah is not the elite tyrant he seems. She's right. Born in one of the poorest parts of Trinidad, Obadiah has clawed partway up society's ladder and built his company around his meticulously crafted persona. Now, he's not about to let anyone, especially Bianca, see past his facade. When Bianca's ex-lover threatens everything she's rebuilt, jeopardizing all she's come to love about her new life, she's surprised to find support from the most unlikely ally, and finally draws the strength to fight back like her mother taught her. Sharp-witted and fiercely fun, The God of Good Looks alternates between Bianca's diary entries and Obadiah's first-person narrative to portray modern Trinidad's rigid class barriers and the fraught impact of beauty commodification in a patriarchal society. Boisterous, moving, and full of meaty, universally relatable questions, McIver's sparkling debut is an open-hearted, awakening tale about prejudice and pride, the masks we wear, and what we can become if we dare to take them off. So I love the idea that we're going to explore beauty culture. I also like the idea that this is a debut, that it's told through diary entries. You guys know I love an alternative format. And the fact that the Obadiah, his part is written in the first person. So that will be interesting as well. I also don't know much about Trinidad, so curious to learn more about Trinidadian culture and to see what happens with Bianca and Obadiah. So that is book number 9 of the 18 that are coming out on May 16th, which should be today when you see this video. And I will cover the other 9 tomorrow, the 17th. So you will have a long list of books that you can pick up that are brand new and very exciting for your TBR. I hope that you enjoyed this. I know that we do this every week, what's new and coming out on each Tuesday. If you do love it, go ahead and click like and subscribe. That helps me to be sure that I'm filming things that my viewers really enjoy. I also have a wish list at the bottom of the description of each of my videos. If you would like to gift me with a book, bookshop.org will send it directly to me. I'll read it, give it a review on the channel, and give you a big shout out and a thank you. So I hope that you will continue to come around and watch my bookish videos. I can't wait to do more of these. I have some single book reviews of books that I've just recently finished that were so good, and I can't wait to tell you about them. I also have some bookstore tours and a few things that are surprises up my sleeve. So keep coming back, and we will talk more bookish goodies soon. Take care. Bye.